codependency is a problematic relationship orientation where one person feels psychologically trapped by the other, often due to their illness, addiction, and or narcissism. So this is often due to their partner's illness, addiction, and or narcissism. But as we discussed in the last video, codependency is a relationship orientation. So you're not only seeing your intimate relationships through the lens of codependency, typically you're viewing even your work, your life purpose, your hobbies, your friends. It's kind of taking over your life without you realizing it. In this dynamic, one person feels compelled to orient their life around the others, causing a departure from self and a compulsion to endlessly give, caretake, and or monitor the other person's moods, wants, and needs. And so codependents are reactors. We are primarily and ultimately consistently reacting to other people. It's a behavior response that's dependent on another person's actions or lack thereof. And as we discussed in the first video, codependency found its origin in the Alcoholics Anonymous community. It's actually a term that originally was used to describe the flip side of alcoholism, which is the other people involved, the loved ones, right? Your partners, the family members who are dealing with the alcoholic, dealing with and love the alcoholic, right? And want to help, but are getting sucked in to the chaos that results from addiction. Now, the term is widely used to describe the specific orientation to relationships, this compulsion to help, and all the behaviors, often self-destructive, that result. But because codependency is describing a particular orientation to relationships and not a set behavior, that means how it shows up for each person varies. It wildly varies. And so that's why in that first video, we went through a long list for you to see the many ways it can be showing up in your life. And for those of us who come from an alcoholic family or have narcissism in our family, so the word codependency has evolved to not only describe being in a relationship with not only an addict, but also a narcissist and even normal people. It's just how you are personally wired to view the world. But if you're someone who grew up in either a narcissistic home or you had addiction in your family, then it's likely that you've always been this way. You've kind of gotten this chip in your brain from birth. And so how you specifically respond, it's going to depend on all the other factors in your life, your religious background, your belief system. Were you dealing with a narcissist or an addict or both, or someone with chronic illness? And so to understand your codependency, you have to understand how it's showing up for you, how you personally react to this other person. But what is the core main through line is that just about every codependent is other focused, right? They are not grounded in themselves. Their priority, they feel a compulsion to prioritize others above self, even at the cost of their own well-being. Like I said, codependency is a reaction to another person's behavior. It's a pattern that can develop in reaction in response to experiencing something abnormal, like, addiction in your family or chronic illness or narcissism or a mental disorder that puts you in the position of being the giver, right? But at the end of the day, you are the person that is reacting. And so let's look at some of those reactions that you could be having and actually showing you that you are, in fact, a codependent. One, you find yourself fixing or rescuing others, and you often disguise this in the package of empathy, being empathetic, caretaking, or giving. I'm just a giver. You may find yourself lying to cover up your partner's shortcomings or their misbehavior, or you may take the blame for their behavior or make excuses to other people about it? Are you noticing that you're tolerating the intolerable? So things that you previously said, I would never put up with that. Things like disrespect, lying, abuse, violence, and yet you find yourself putting up with it, excusing it away. Codependents always have a reason. We always have a reason, right? And it's often masked in compassion and our values, so we often can't see what's happening. Do you find that you neglect your own needs? You so prioritize everyone else's needs that you often put yourself on the back burner. You don't make time for yourself, or you cancel, those important plans that you have. Maybe you have a dream, right, of writing or working on something, and you put it off because someone else, they need you. They just need you. And so you find yourself constantly going to the call and the every beck and call of someone else. This is another subtle one that we can internalize so much and not catch, but you may notice that you're starting to feel empty. You have a loss of purpose, a loss of direction in your life. You can't stir up those feelings anymore. Are you noticing that you're not able to relax or feel at ease unless your partner is feeling emotionally okay? Like you can't have nice things unless they, have their desires and they are taken care of. In particularly abusive relationships, this can go to a point where we really become hypervigilant as well. So we're constantly scanning the environment, not just because we think it's a good thing to do, right? Or I want to help, I wanted this. We begin to scan because it's not safe until the partner is satisfied. If they're not satisfied, then you're going to have someone raging at you, or you're going to go through passive aggression, all this mental warfare, right? And so you scan the environment to make sure things are in their proper order, things are prepared and ready for that person, so that you don't have to deal with the emotional backlash. This is also another subtle one that you may not even recognize as a trait of codependency, but you may find that you idolize your partner or you put them on a pedestal. Do you find that you are taking on too much responsibility in the relationship? For example, you're the one who does a lot of the child rearing, or you do a lot of the cleaning or the organizing of dates, or you do a lot of the emotional labor in the relationship, or you're covering most of the cost, even if you're not making significantly more money than your partner. Do you find yourself hiding your own needs and pretending to be okay out of fear of conflict, abandonment, shaming, bullying, or rage? So even though the behaviors and the actual patterns that show up in codependency greatly vary from person to person, your relationship is codependent if there is this imbalance of giving and taking. One person's needs and desires and their dreams always seem to matter more than the others, and you feel this compulsion to always acquiesce and make them the center of your life.